Many have already suffered losses, and our thoughts are with them as well. Over 2.25 million acres and 900,000 hectares were burned during this fire season already. And as others said during the panel, this recalls the famous Black Saturday fires 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when there was on February 7th an awful event. It was actually for several days, and this iconic image went around the world. Many homes were lost, lots of property lost, and most tragically, lots and lots of people were killed. Now, we also saw some video about the Bundaberg floods in Queensland, which have been ongoing. And then a few years ago, there was yet another one in Bundaberg. This comes about because of these extreme rainfall events. Here are the records broken this year for rainfall. You see right across all of these locations in Australia, the all-time record has been broken this year. Now, this is because, of course, due to man-made global warming, there is now 4% more water vapor in the atmosphere than there was just 30 years ago. The warmer oceans are putting more up there, and the warmer air holds more moisture. And it's not just 4% directly above where the rain falls. You know, if you have a bathtub full of water and you pull the drain, the water rushing down the drain obviously is not coming just from the part of the tub directly above the drain. It's coming from the whole tub. And there are these enormous basins of water vapor in the air that reach out often 2,000 kilometers and are funneled inward toward the drain. The drain being, in this case, the rainstorms, the storms that open up in the conditions that cause a downpour. So we're getting these record rainfalls, and they result in record flood events in many parts of Australia. Here is an example in Queensland, in Yeppoon, almost 22 inches of rain, 557 millimeters in 48 hours. Can you imagine almost 2 feet of rain in 48 hours? Well, that's the kind of unusual event that has become all too common in Australia. Over the last several years, we have seen these incredible flood events, many of them in Queensland. Rockhampton was hit very hard. Here are some before and after pictures of a flood event recently in Australia. A nice, calm, peaceful neighborhood, and then after the flood, real devastation. We see neighborhoods inundated by flooding, and again, we've heard from these people who've lost their homes and livelihoods. It is a terrible tragedy for the people that are affected by these devastating events. This is some home video shot by an Australian just catching this van being washed down the street by the incredible flood waters there. The rescuers are so courageous. This was last year in North Wagga Wagga, Australia. 9,000 people evacuated during this flood event. There are health risks from floods, and many of them are obvious and known, but it also relates to mosquito-borne diseases. And we've talked in this hour about the health impacts, and these vectors for infectious diseases, mosquitoes and rodents and ticks and the rest, they expand their range in a warmer world. Mosquitoes, for example, move to higher elevations. Some 30 so-called new diseases have emerged in the last 4 decades. Many of them are not new, but they're new in the areas they're now affecting. And some old diseases are resurgent, like dengue fever, for example. These tropical diseases are now spreading, not only because of global warming, because the impact of vast population movements during and after World War II and World War I before that had an impact, but a warmer world shifts the balance toward microbes and away from the defenses that colder nights and frost have given many populations against microbes and diseases. And now in many areas, India, for example, dengue fever is a major, major threat once again. 37 million infections each year. Allergies and asthma, ragweed pollen, the season now is almost a month longer than it was just 20 years ago. And here, this is from North America, but it's true in much of the world, these statistics. This number, 8,500, has already gone up by 2,000, and it's going to triple again in the next 2.5 decades because of global warming. Now, in Australia, the species that are affected include the iconic koala, the duck-billed platypus, and this is part of a global story that has the biologists telling us we're facing a mass extinction event 100 times faster than we thought. Amphibians, including some in Australia, are kind of like the proverbial canary in the coal mine. They've been around for about 250 million years, and now they're really in trouble on every continent. So species extinction, wildfires, floods, mudslides, droughts, storm damage, the Great Coral Reef, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, all of these are costs of carbon. Now, luckily, Australia is one of those that has put a price on carbon. They have a choice to make on whether or not to keep it. I hope that Australia will continue its leadership, as we have seen with solar and wind, and the leadership toward a policy that will help preserve the future. We're counting on you to do the right thing, Australia. Let's put a price on carbon.
This is the cost of carbon, a living documentation of the ways we're all paying for carbon pollution.
A lingering drought in southwest China has caused billions of dollars in losses to agriculture.
Hurricane Sandy also damaged or destroyed more than 650,000 homes.
Bushfires forced hundreds of people to evacuate.
Vast chunks of Mozambique were flooded. 2 million people affected.
The price is too high for any of us. The time for action is now. Find out how you are paying for carbon pollution. Then add your cost. And tell leaders from the top polluting countries, as of today, there will be a political price for denial. Climate change must be taken into account in your leadership. It's time to rise to the challenge of the century. It's time to put a price on carbon. Demand action on climate change now. Add your name to the cost of carbon.
Well, this marks the end of this year's 24 Hours of Reality. But more importantly, this marks the beginning of the way forward. Today, we are facing a crisis unlike any other in all of human history. It's a crisis that doesn't heed nations' borders, and as you have seen during this day-long global telecast, it is manifested in many different ways: bigger floods and fires, more political instability and economic insecurity, deeper droughts and famines, rising seas, and numbers of climate refugees. It is a crisis that is already costing us dearly, and unless we act boldly and soon, it is a crisis that will threaten the future of human civilization as we know it. We don't get to choose our challenges, and we don't get to choose which facts to believe. Yet there are those who still look the other way and pretend that this crisis somehow isn't real. To those, I have this to say: denial never solved a problem. Denial never helped us to rise. And denial never, ever made us great. What today calls for is the will to stare reality in the eye with courage and resolve. The reality we now face implores us to act, to unite in urgency, to find the moral courage that lives in each of us, to reach out and grab hold of the solutions that we have right in front of us. This is about our unquenchable desire to triumph over adversity and build a future with hope and optimism and opportunity. It's about our uniquely human ability to overcome the challenges that confront us. The climate crisis has called us. Reality demands of us that we answer. There will be joy in prevailing. Those of us who are alive in this time of testing should celebrate the opportunity to win this struggle when so much is at stake. It is a privilege to have work that is worth everything we can put into it, and we will prevail. I'd like to thank everyone involved in 24 Hours of Reality. It's a great team here. You have truly made this the world's largest conversation on the cost of carbon. We've had more than 20 million views of 24 Hours of Reality and more than 220 million impressions on Twitter alone, making the cost of carbon a trending topic. So a special thank you to everyone who has watched and participated. And now, to help us wrap up the show, here with a special live performance is my good friend, the great artist, Richie Sambora. Richie, take it away.
Brother.